This is the 78th anniversary of the detonation of the first atomic bomb on July 16, 1945, at Trinity Site in the New Mexico desert. Now, after 78 years, it would be difficult to imagine that there's anything left to say about this event that hasn't been said. And so what we are going to do today, as I reflect on this event of 78 years ago, is I'm going to try to communicate in a very simple form what is fundamentally the reality of this event. It's not political, and it's not economic, and it's not scientific. It's not nationalistic. The fundamental reality of the detonation of the first atomic bomb is that it is evil, incontestable evil by the standards of Jesus Christ in the New Testament, in the Gospels. It is only evil. It is nothing but evil. It can only bring evil. Evil is what the atomic bomb is. Evil, as you know, in the English language, is live spelled backwards. The atomic bomb brings death. It has brought death. It will bring death. At the present moment, it is bringing death. It is only about death. It is only about evil. The atomic bomb is an instrument to inflict pain on people. Serious pain, deadly pain, agonizing pain. That's what it was made for. That's what was done with it. That's the atomic bomb. Those people, the scientists, and those who were not scientists, who knew what they were doing throughout the Manhattan Project, which is the project that was put in place to produce an atomic bomb, they knew that what they were about, regardless of anything else that they were about, was putting together a new instrument to tear people apart, to inflict agonizing pain on them, to make people suffer, to make not only people suffer, but their children and their husbands and their wives and their loved ones suffer. They knew that they were putting together an instrument that was meant to tear human beings apart if it was used against human beings. They may not have named it evil, but there is no other name for it. Evil. Hundreds of thousands of human beings were actually burned alive, burned to death, irradiated, sent into hours, days, months, and years of intolerable agony when the bombs were dropped. But it started today, 78 years ago. It's evil. What we have to ask, it seems to me, is, did the atomic bomb actually start today, 78 years ago, on July 16th, 1945? Or did it start when Roosevelt signed the petition of Einstein and Niels Bohr and others to make such a weapon back in 1942? Or did it start at the point where the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor? Or did it start when the United States blockaded Japan so that it could not get oil that it needed and other things that it needed from the Asian continent? Or did it start long before that? Did it start with Cain? When Cain killed Abel. For whatever reason, Cain killed Abel. The fact of the matter is, the evil that is the atomic bomb, is the same evil that killed Abel. The very same evil. It's the spirit of murder, the spirit of inducing pain, bringing on death for some purpose or another. The purpose may differ, but the spirit is the same. It is not limited to the United States. It's a human reality. The spirit of evil manifests as the murder of human beings. It is indeed a spirit that's recognized when a gangster shoots down a fellow gangster outside of a bar. That's evil. That's murder. But we often, if not all the time, do not say when our country is engaged in the mass murder of human beings in war, we do not call it murder. We call it something else, force, justified violence. But it is the taking of human life that is not ours to take, nor ours to give. It is the taking of human life against the will of the people whose lives are being taken, and for some purpose that is in our minds that we think necessitates or justifies that taking. But it is the unjustified destruction of a human being, a son or a daughter of the Father, a brother or sister of Christ, always, in all circumstances, it is, according to the gospel, according to the teaching of Jesus, murder. Murder. No Christian is ever justified, never, in destroying another human being. That is, he is not justified by Christ. He may be justified by Joe Schmo, PhD from Harvard, but he's not justified by Jesus Christ. He may be justified in the opinion of popes and cardinals and bishops and rectors and priests and deacons and all those other people that have status in the churches of Christianity. But he is not justified by Christ. Christ is very clear. Put up your sword. Love your enemies. Love one another as I have loved you. That is no way of killing people, to follow those instructions. You can't follow those instructions and be be killing people, as you can kill people and be following those instructions. And so, when we see the atomic bomb, we see the mushroom cloud, we hear the stories of what went on before and during and after at the labs in Los Alamos and under the football field in Chicago and so forth and so on. We know all the stories. We know all the people. Fermi, Oppenheimer, Bohr, we know that. Yet in the end, as an event, it is evil. There is no other intention of making that bomb than to unjustly destroy human beings. unjustly if Jesus is the Messiah, the Christ, the Son of the living God, the Word of God incarnate, God. So, we are here today, 78 years after the event. And what we do know is this, is that what started with Cain killing Abel, before basically recorded history, and has gone on since that time. I believe the oldest cadaver we have is someone who was murdered, and has gone on since that time, and went on July 16, 1945, and goes on to this very hour with whatever weapons have been created. What we have here is a moment in time, that if we wish to look at it, if we wish to see it, if we wish to acknowledge it as evil, outright evil, human beings spending their life and their time and their energy to put together an instrument to destroy other people by the millions. If we wish to acknowledge that, then maybe there's a chance that we won't participate in it, at least as Christians. But it's just a fact of life. Christians do not acknowledge that the dropping of an atomic bomb on people, the burning people with flamethrowers, the machine gunning of people, the ripping people's kidneys out, slitting their throats, blowing their heads off in war is evil. They don't acknowledge it, whether they're Russian or American or Chinese or French or English or German, or it's just not acknowledged. It's not acknowledged primarily because they're doing it for their country, whatever their country is. One will look and never find a word in the Gospels, not a word from Jesus, that says what he's teaching can be set aside if the politicians from your country tell you to set it aside, because they need you to be other than Christ-like, because their interest and the interest of the country requires you to do things that Christ would never do. Indeed, that Christ forbids. That is to do evil. And so we have this situation on our hands where, if I were to ask you the question, when was the last time you think making the atomic bomb could be avoided? When was the last moment in time do you think that it was possible to keep the atomic bomb out of existence? I would submit to you that the atomic bomb was inevitable since Cain. Intrinsic to the spirit of violence and the spirit of enmity, the spirit that killed Cain, the spirit that put together this incredibly complex weapon called the atomic bomb, intrinsic to that is the fact that it promotes, sustains, and generates more and more of the type of instrument that it is, except the more and more of the type of instrument it is, that is, a weapon to induce pain, to cause suffering, to bring death on top of people, becomes ever more sophisticated, ever more complex, ever more powerful, ever more effective in doing its job as human beings progress in other areas of life, science and math, and all technologies, this philosophy, theology. As human beings progress in all these cognitive fields, they're taking that God-given ability to grow in awareness of how of why the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, of the fact that there are hundreds of billions of suns out there, of the fact that every human being is made up of carbon atoms that were once part of the sun, of how atoms work. They're taking that knowledge that basically, I don't know where it starts. Where does knowledge begin? But they're taking the knowledge that's, say, part of the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And then of Euclid, and then of Pascal, and then of Copernicus, and going on down the line. And Einstein, and they're taking all that, and they're bringing the same spirit that started with Cain to it in order to use it to do exactly what Cain did: murder people. That's evil. All those abilities were not given to human beings, the ability to understand empirical reality in order to learn how to kill people. That's not what God, at least not the God of Jesus, the God who is Jesus, ever could have had in mind. The God who is love, agape, the God who is the Father of all. And so here we are on the doorstep, if you will, a few hours before the anniversary of the first atomic bomb explosion, 78th anniversary. And if you were at, or have been at, Trinity Site during one of these anniversaries over the last 34 years that we've been here praying that something somehow take place that stops the continuing creation, propagation, generation of all the dynamics that put the first atomic bomb together. If you were here praying that God not only forgive people doing that, but show people the way out of that, out of the use of the best that human beings can come up with as far as human creativity, energy, mind, thought, take it out of the realm of homicide, murder, destruction of other people. So if you have been here at Trinity Site and you have sat, knelt, stood, and prayed for an hour or for the whole 24 hours that we're here on July 15th and 16th, pray for the salvation of all people. Pray that God somehow relieve human beings possessed as a group, as a universal group, possessed of the spirit of homicide, controlled by it for all practical purposes, that God somehow lift that from them so that we see that cannot be what we should be about, what we are about, what is going to make for a good life for us and for those who follow us. As we sit here, kneel here, stand here and pray for God to somehow act and intervene in a way only God can. About a mile to the left of us, there are cars pretty much 24 hours a day. Not a lot, but continually, day and night, driving down a road that is the entrance to the White Sands testing ground for weapons. They are driving 24 hours a day in and out of that place. And what are they doing there? They are testing, being part of, whether it's as a carpenter, electrician, or a guard, or a scientist, they are being part of an operation whose purpose is to figure out, to experiment with, to execute the use of new and better weapons like the atomic bomb, weapons that destroy and kill people, weapons whose only purpose is to tear the life out of human beings. And they're going in and out, day in and day out, just the way that people were going in and out on July 16th, 1945, the same area, the same place, putting together an instrument that could, and that did, destroy the lives of millions, and continues to destroy the lives of millions today. And so we look and we see the cars going, and then we find out that most of those cars going in and out, or at least a huge percentage of them, are Christians, followers of Jesus, going in and out of a testing ground for weapons, modern weapons, weapons more than likely that we can't even imagine, atomic, bacteriological, chemical, electrical, weapons that whose only purpose is to destroy. And there they go. Yep. To Mass on Sunday morning and to putting together weapons to rip people apart, tear their lives apart, tear their children's lives apart. Monday morning. Actually, for the whole 7 days of the week. And so I asked the question, when was the last time that it was possible to stop the atomic bomb from coming into existence? And let me give you what I think is the answer, but has historical and theological basis. And it's this. The last time that there was any chance of stopping the atomic bomb from coming into existence on July 16, 1945, was at the moment before the church turned itself over to the state. The moment before the church Constantinianized itself, at about 313 or 315. At the moment before the church began to implicitly and then explicitly justify the killing of human beings by Christians for the state. Once Jesus' way of nonviolent love of friends and enemies, once Jesus' way was abandoned, then the atomic bomb of July 16th, 1945, of August 6, 1945, of August 9th of 1945, then the atomic bomb was inevitable. And there's more inevitable. You know, and I know, we all know, and the world knows, that day in and day out, human beings by the hundreds of thousands or millions are being paid well to make better destructive weapons, far better destructive weapons than anything that's known at this moment. The process, if you will, of Christians killing Christians, Christians killing other people, never stops. And it is a process. It is a process. And so, whether it's Russia or whether it's the United States or China or France or England or Israel or Germany, the fact is this, that there's no stopping the spirit of evil. It can't be stopped. It can't be stopped. I can't stop it. You can't stop it. Biden and Trump are not going to stop it. The Pauls over in Europe are not going to stop it. Who's going to stop it? Who's going to stop making ever more advanced instruments of destruction to kill ever more people? Why would they stop it? Certainly General Electric is not going to stop it. It makes a fortune off of making those instruments. Nor Raytheon, nor all the other companies. Why would it stop? Who's going to stop it? Well, as far as we can see, it is not going to be stopped. Not only is it not going to be stopped, it can't be stopped by human beings. There is one thing and one thing only that can stop it. Accepting the truth that Jesus taught as God's will, that Jesus taught. Accepting that there is only one instrument, one power in this world that can stop the destruction of human beings by human beings ever in an escalating fashion, indeed, possibly to the end of the human race. And that one power is love in the model and in the message of Jesus. And so, to say it the way it should be said in theology classes all over the world, in Catholic and Protestant church, in Orthodox churches, God, who is love, decided to save the world through love like his, and sent his son, Jesus, to show us what that love is. But the world will not be saved by anything other than that love. Choose Christ-like love, love as God loves, and there is a way to stop the progression that is from Cain to July 16, 1945, to the madness that goes on now all over the world. And outside of that, make no mistake, the church documents and treaties between countries mean zero in the face of evil. Evil is conquered only by Christ-like love, by the love that is God. For only God has the power to conquer evil. Short of that, if we don't want to do that, we can write all the papers we want, make all the treaties we want, build all the arms we want, and only destruction will follow. Only evil will follow. Evil is conquered by Christ-like love. There is no other way that humanity can possibly free itself and be freed by God from the process that started with Cain and goes right on through this day at escalating rates